Hi sweeties, how are you doing? Welcome to Naya Sing. If this is your first time of coming across this channel, sweetheart, kindly smash that subscribe button and turn your notification so you are notified each time I upload, and please give this video a thumb up. I appreciate you all so much, and I am saying a very big shout out to you all for the support, the love you all showering me here with. I am grateful, and you all are super sweet. So today we'll be talking something very important, and it's about a video this colored man actually made. He was a school shooter, right? And he served in prison, finally came out. I think I brought something like this to you, but he made a video also yesterday, trying to tell people how he was attacked by a black man without even doing anything. So people started asking him, how can somebody attack you? I mean, the person doesn't know you or anything, and he attacked you, and what? So people started asking, pressing him, what did you do? So he made this video saying that he was a mass shooter, right? It was at this point that internet, lost it. Everybody all came out. He was actually the one that also said that, do you believe that black people can be racist to colored people? I already brought that one here. So when he said that, a lot of people were like, oh my goodness, so you did something this horrible and you're out here, I mean, trying to tell people that somebody used sword on you. Like, have you, man, you did something horrible and it is not anything happening. It was just karma that came back to you for what you did and all that. A lot of people actually came out to say, asking why he is moving around freely and all that, that he's not even supposed to be on this platform. And also always wanting to, he was given opportunity to go around to talk to people about his experiences, why he was in prison, and why people shouldn't be planning on how to pew people in school and all that. Tell me if this is not white privilege. And trust me, the internet is going wild. And I am going to roll this clip. We'll come back to talk about it. So let me know what you're thinking in the comment section. So straight up, let's get it.
Spoken to any of my old classmates. Well, for those who don't know, I am a school shooter. I did 17 years in prison, and I have videos about it. I have a lot of videos where I try to address this issue so we can prevent other shootings, and I work with law enforcement about that also. But yes, so I had friends of mine who actually kept in touch with me while I was in prison, who visited me, and I had a lot of old classmates who I wasn't even friends with reach out to me since I came home, and especially since I've been on social media. There's been a lot of support. There's actually classmates and their family who are in the comments section of my video. You just don't realize it. There's also those who've reached out to me to share with me the trauma that they endured at my hands, the pain, the suffering, the anguish that they still feel to this day. And I'm open to it. I want to be helpful however I can. And if that includes people reaching out and sharing that pain, then by all means, I'm very open to it. And I'm also speaking at my hometown. There's a public forum where I've been invited to share my story and to answer questions, to hopefully provide help for parents, teachers, and law enforcement, as well as people who can maybe get some type of closure from what I've done to them. Well, for those who don't know, I am a school shooter. I did 17 years in prison.
I believe in second chances. I believe in redemption and rehabilitation, but I also believe in parameters, and one of those parameters should be life in prison after a school shooting. The second parameter should be no access to social media if released early for whatever fuck reason. Some people will say, but Jasmine, he was 16, his mind had not fully developed and he was experiencing a lot of mental health issues. But I was 16 with a mind that had not fully developed, experiencing a lot of mental health issues, and I never walked in with a shotgun and just unloaded on my teacher. And as a celebrity spiritual consultant, I spend a lot of time working with people's minds, their fucking psyche, their souls. And I will say this, I understand people can change, but I also believe that people should not always have access to community to prove that they have changed, because all we're working with up until you do something else is fucking potential. And insert this clip real quick.
Do you believe that people can be racist against a white person? I do, and so does the man who attacked me with swords. He almost took my life while calling me the white devil. And I mean,
the fact that you work with law enforcement to help them understand the mind of the shooters, which is something that you are, is a different level of male sapien privilege that I do not care to even try and understand. But I'm trying to figure out why your empathy does not extend to the man that attacked you with with swords and called you a white devil. Most places in the world, the devil is perceived as being evil, just as shooting up a school is perceived as being evil. You are white, as I am black. So which part did he get wrong? Imagine had you been black, Middle Eastern, Hispanic, baby, you would not see the light of day. They would have you in the dungeon. They would have built one for you. I'm supposed to discriminate based off the way that people look, but tell me this motherfucker don't look like he would do that shit again. I hear the Despicable Me song playing in the background. I am having a bad, bad day. It's about time that I get my way. It's so fun to see. Despicable Me.
Oh, I am a school shooter. I did 17 years in prison, and I have videos.
If I had to classify myself in any particular way when it comes to the prison industrial complex, it would be as a reluctant abolitionist. I don't believe that the prison system as it currently exists in the United States and in most countries is actually redemptive or rehabilitatory at all. Also, I think it is a place where most people go to become even worse versions of themselves, both violent and non-violent offenders alike. I don't think it is possible for a person to spend 23 hours a day in a cage and come out a better person. I don't think it's possible for people to be locked in with other people who have been labeled as dangers to society and come out of that situation okay. I don't think it is okay for people to learn warped versions of social order, capitalism, and the barter system in an effort to remain alive and come out of that system a better person. Someone who is able to function happily, healthily, and in contribution to society as a whole. With that being said, I think it's time we have a conversation about what redemption and restorative justice looks like. Because whether or not this guy has actually had a change of heart and change of character is something that I could never possibly know. What I do know, however, is that this is one of the most glaring examples of why not everybody should have a social media platform. I admire the work that this man is doing, going to schools and talking to students. However, I think his work should remain that, on the ground, grassroots type of work, possibly even going into mental health and getting a degree in children's behavioral psychology, early childhood education, work specifically with others who have done this, because there have been so many shootings in this country and in Canada, right? And actually do that hands-on work to try to rehabilitate his peers in this case being other school shooters, and doing that type of work. That's what he actually needs if the goal is redemption. But if the goal is exposure, and whether or not that's the goal, that's actually what's happening. He's getting exposure and a largely positive feedback. That is potentially very dangerous. We live in a culture, and I don't take pride in saying this started with millennials, right? Where people will get on social media and do and say just about anything for some social media clout. There are people abusing and or exploiting their small children for likes, views, and shares. Exposing their entire lifestyles, what they eat, what they wear, who their spouses are, for likes, views, and shares. There are people lying about their background, pretending to have an education that they do not have, etc., for views, likes, and shares. I think it's very dangerous as Gen Z, and specifically Gen Alpha, who are still children at this time, are growing up, to see someone who has basically crimed their way into a social media platform. Because that is your platform, right? You're not on Book Talk reviewing books. You're not on Movie Talk reviewing movies. You're not off of social media trying to make amends for what you have done and the people you have harmed. You have made a platform based on the crime that you have committed. And that's very dangerous. When a person who is already lonely, already feeling disconnected, possibly misanthropic, or even sociopathic, sees that the way to some sort of notoriety or respect or a following or the approval of strangers is by committing this crime, and whether real or feigned, making a show of remorse. It is very dangerous for a person who has committed that type of crime to then essentially exploit the crime that they committed for social media exposure. And as I often say, two things can be true. In this case, multiple things can be true. This person committed a heinous crime while they were still a child. A teenager is someone who can still be accountable for infringing on another person's bodily autonomy. A person is allowed and should grow and change for the better. Change and redemption and restorative justice should be quiet as opposed to loud. And most importantly, I cannot stress this enough. No amount of I'm sorries and speeches at high schools is going to change the fact that people were harmed. People's lives will never be the same again. And no matter how many people sent you letters, visited you in prison, or came to see you when you got out of jail, that shouldn't give you a green light to then try to make a platform out of the crime you committed against them. And while I think it's great that, this man is not encouraging anyone to do what he did, quite the opposite, I think he should reflect on why it is that he wanted a social media platform in the first place. I think somewhere deep down inside, there's still that boy who felt alienated from his peers, who is getting a little dopamine hit and feeling a little bit of validation every time he gets a positive comment, a like, a share, or favorite on any of these videos. I don't think that the sort of brokenness that would cause someone to shoot up their classmates is something that can be remedied in the prison system. I've already listed the reasons why that is. Nor do I think that it's something that can be remedied on social media. Take yourself offline and do the work that actually needs to be done, sir.
I actually stitched this video and did a full 10-minute thing, but for some reason it's not working, so I'm just going to upload the tail end here. His whole account infuriates me. This is a man who, back when he was 17 years old, brought a tool to a school with the intent of bringing harm. I actually watched his pin video and the whole explanation of this, and he was talking about on that day he decided to bring a weapon to school. He was feeling so low and so down about himself and honestly wanted to harm himself, but he did not want to do it alone. That was almost word for word what he said. He did not want to go through that shit alone. So he is mentally traumatized that his decision was to bring a weapon to school and traumatize an entire high school in New York. He describes when he first walked into the school, he did encounter a student. He did not attack the student. Of course, the student saw him, immediately took off running, and he just let him run and turned somewhere else. He saw two more people. They encountered him, obviously, took off running. He did not touch them, and he went into a classroom, and they, of course, feared for their life. And I think he did not do anything to them. I guess he was scared, whatever, leaves the classroom. And it wasn't until a teacher, or I believe an assistant principal, wrestled him from behind. He still had his finger on the trigger, wrestled him from behind, got him down to the ground, and then he ended up firing a shot into the teacher's leg. That is why he served 17 years in prison. Because nobody died. Nobody died. But to those 3 people you encountered in the hallway, to that classroom full of students and teachers that watched you with a weapon, basically thinking at that very moment, I am going to die. You have affected them for the rest of their life. And you served 17 years in prison, came out of prison, working with the police and talking to schools about mental health. I am so sorry. There is nothing nice I have to say about that man. Because if he looks like this, he cannot go school to school to talk about things that he did in the past. There are people that I believe he's Sikh, and it's either Indian, Middle Eastern, that wear the turban, wear all of that stuff. There are people like him to this day cannot go to New York to Ground Zero, not even to look at Ground Zero, just to walk past it without people looking at him some type of way. That transphobic IG comedian, Jess Hilarious, got a man like him removed from a flight because she was scared. And that was within the last, I want to say, like 10 years. That type of grace is not given to people like this. It's not given to black and brown people. It's only given to him. This man has 250,000 followers on TikTok. This man went into school with the goal in mind to wreak havoc and cause harm. And he has 250,000 followers on this app. And the fact that his @name is John Seeking Peace, while everybody that encountered him back in 2004 probably has never known peace since then. It boggles my fucking mind. I'm sorry. It's like shit like this, you need to serve more time. I don't care. I don't care you were rehabilitated or whatever, because you have affected people's lives for the rest of their life. And of course, the video I stitched, I didn't fully watch it, but the video I stitched is people like, oh, did you ever talk to those students? Imagine being one of those students who remembers this man's face staring into the barrel of a gun back when you were 16, 17, 18 years old. And then him trying to come talk to you 20 plus years later. Are you serious? And then he has a video on his page right now because he works for a homeless shelter. And he was attacked by a homeless man who was black and attacked him with a sword and called him the white devil. So now he has a video on his page talking about racism towards white people. We're in the upside down. For a school shooter to come to this app after affecting a whole school members' lives for the rest of their life, to come on here and then talk about racism towards white people. I don't even. In 2004, I was in high school. I was a freshman in high school. I believe it was 2005 when on Valentine's Day, we had a student who had barely been in the school for 30 days. On Valentine's Day in the morning, I remember this vividly because I was in the cafeteria waiting for breakfast. There was stairs, and the stairs, all of a sudden you hear someone fall down the stairs. And then you see a police tackle this man. Then you see multiple other police officers coming with a tranquilizer gun. And we're like, what is going on? Then they grab something from him, throw it across the room. You know what they threw across the room? 2 samurai swords. And it turns out he had 2 samurai swords and 7 daggers. It was a regular day for me, about to have breakfast on Valentine's Day. Everyone has their balloons and all this stuff, and this man was walking around the school about to cause harm. Matter of fact, there is one person that he actually encountered and actually did slash the man. I remember him because I went to school. I've known that guy since 6th grade. He still has the scar deep on his chin. Imagine him trying to come and talk to me in 2023 about the harm that he caused. And somehow I'm supposed to be like, I forgive you? Imagine me opening this app and seeing that man's face with 250,000 followers and people in the comments being like, oh, y'all acting like he can't be rehabilitated and things like that. No, I don't. When I think of Sandy Hook and I think of Uvalde, I think of Columbine, I think of Virginia Tech, I think of all the different schools. The fact that I can't even count how many like school shootings and possible attacks that has happened since 2004. Hell, since the beginning of this year, the beginning of 2023. And somehow I'm supposed to welcome this man. I'm supposed to welcome this man on this app with forgiveness and kindness. I have nothing educated to say. I have nothing forgiving to say. You have affected a whole lifetime of people that you saw for a split second with that weapon, because at that moment, they truly thought that that was going to be it for them. They probably still have PTSD from your situation. They probably are looking for exits everywhere they go. If it's too many people, they get anxious. I get anxious around way too many people. I can't be in crowds. When I think of Times Square at New Year's Eve, that shit gives me anxiety. And I never even truly met a man like that face to face. I was in the cafeteria when that guy was going to come down, when he was tackled. But it's just like, I'm sorry. 17 years is not long enough. I am not a prison abolitionist. I don't have anything academic to say. Shit like that, I am so sorry. If you are going to be free, I don't want to talk to you. I don't want to hear nothing you have to say. I don't want you working with the police. I don't want you working with the police. When I think of Uvalde and how those police people sat outside in the hallway and the actual tape they had to mute because of the screams of children. I'm so sorry. I am so sorry. I have nothing nice to say to this man. 17 years is not long enough. The only reason you served 17 years was because nobody died. You should be in there for life. I said what I said. Y'all can argue in my comments. I really don't give a fuck. Why does he have a platform and why are y'all trying to excuse him? Fuck him.
For those who don't know, I am a school shooter. I did 17 years in prison.
I've seen quite a few people stitching this and like kind of trying to make a joke of it, but I have some genuine questions and I hope that you are willing to have this dialogue with me. Since I've never had the opportunity to speak to someone that has done something so heinous, I would like to understand, especially since you've had 17 years plus to process what you've done, if you could let us know what pushed you to that, what made you do that. Not saying that you doing it is justified, but I just want to understand what could drive someone to do something like that. And I think my other question is, what is it that you expect to get out of making these TikToks? Did you start making them because this is your way of spreading awareness? Like, I genuinely want to know, what is it that you expect to take from this and what you expect other people to take from it, especially since we know what you did is something that is so prevalent in America, and a lot of people have been impacted by people that do the things that you've done in the past. So I just overall want to know, what is the end goal? What is it that this is supposed to do? Because I would hope that it's not for you to gain a following or some type of traction based off of something awful that you did in the past. And these are genuine questions. I'm not trying to attack you. I'm really just trying to have a dialogue of trying to understand where this is going and what is the actual purpose. Because I don't know, I've just never seen anything like this before, and I want to understand.
Well, for those who don't know, I am a school shooter. I did 17 years in prison.
Mirasclad. Man said, for those who you don't know, I am a school shooter. And I think therefore I am, and I am what I am, a school shooter. Now this man did 17 years in prison for shooting up a school. 17 years, and the man is now out back on the street on TikTok with kind eyes saying, hey guys, I did a bad thing. And, we rehabilitated and now we're back on the streets with you and your loved ones. I am still a school shooter though, as I referenced. For those of you who don't know, I am that. It's not I was. It's not no, I am. It's who I am, and I'm not going to change it, so deal with it, and see you guys soon.
I am a school shooter. I did 17 years in prison, and I have videos about it.
Let me get this straight. You served 17 years in prison for going to a school and attempting to off children, which you say you weren't really trying to off children. You just wanted the police to come in and off you, even though when they're struggling over a gun, you end up shooting a teacher. Whether or not you off children or not, you still, by your actions, subjected them to lifelong PTSD. And you have the nerve to get on this app and have over 200,000 followers because you went viral because this black man at a homeless shelter you were working at chopped you up with a sword. And he gets 25 years in prison. And these are the type of headlines that I see. In a heartbreaking TikTok video uploaded to the channel, John W. Romano details his experiences surviving an apparent anti-white attack by a homeless black man armed with a sword while working at an Albany area homeless shelter. During the violent encounter, Romano claims that the attacker, Randall D. Mason, had hurled anti-white insults, calling him and other white staff currently on duty white devils. You see here that he says that he told him to go sit down, and after like a minute or two, he kind of starts to get animated and talking to himself, and he starts talking about white devils. So he's talking to himself. He's exhibiting behaviors of someone with a mental illness. And you decide that you're going to continue to antagonize him, and then you're surprised when he attacks you. Now, I don't know where the Negro got a sword from, but this is an example of how white offenders are treated differently than black ones. You went into a school with children and attempted to off them. He calls you a white devil and chops you up. Yes, you almost lost your life, but you deserve no sympathy. And you have the unmitigated gall to get on this app, showing your face, doing interviews where you're going viral, where the victims of your atrocious crime can see you and be reminded of what you did and be triggered. And you're saying that you're doing this because you're trying to help recognize the signs of a potential future school shooter. That's not admirable. You don't get a fucking cookie for that. That's what you should do. And you should do it for free, and you should do it in the fucking background. And he feels comfortable doing this because there are people that gravitate towards school shooters, either romanticizing them or just putting so much interest in it. And it seems to me that he's doing this because he's getting the attention that he wanted that made him do the whole fucking school shooting in the first place. And now with the stabbing, you're a victim. That's what all the articles are saying. The victim, the victim, the victim. You're not a victim. That's fucking karma. And my heart goes out to all the victims that have to relive this because this man decides that he wants to be the center of attention and even reach out to his victims to talk to them. I could not imagine. 0 out of 10.
Any of my old classmates. Well, for those who don't know, I am a school shooter.
There are men and women who look like me, right? Who have spent all of their lives, the majority of their lives, in prison for non-violent offenses. But someone who looks like him only has to give the system 17 years for shooting up a school.
Well, for those who don't know, I am a school.
I do find this quite interesting, that he is a released school shooter, apparently advocating for whatever, so that school shootings don't continue to happen. I don't know much about him. I just stumbled across his video. However, I do have questions, and maybe he'll be like interested in responding. Maybe not. I don't know. Maybe he'll never see the video. But like, do you now advocate for gun control? And I'm in no way coming at him. I'm asking a legit question. Like, do you advocate for gun control? Do you feel like things would have been different if you didn't have access to a gun? But it's also kind of strange because you did say a shotgun, so it's not like, I don't know. But just general question, like, do you advocate for it? And I would love to know more about like your mindset when it happened, because I know a lot of people that are school shooters and they just use like insanity pleas, and I'm not talking about him specifically, I'm just talking about in general, or like mass shooters. But I highly recommend everybody listening to the podcast How Not to Raise a Serial Killer, and the doctor does a deep dive on the Colorado Aura movie theater shooting, and I can't think of his name, but the murderer, he was so brilliant, and like it's really like sad. Like, he tried to advocate for himself, and he literally tried to get a degree to be a doctor so that he could like cure himself, because nobody else could. I'm not saying what he did wasn't, wrong, and what was wrong, and there are a lot of people that have the same issues and never become shooters. So I'm not saying what he did is okay by any means. It was just fascinating to listen to. So I would love to know more about like you specifically, especially about like your advocating for gun control and things of that matter.
Well, for those who don't know, I am a school shooter. I did 17 years in prison.
So I saw this video early this morning, and it impacted me in a very visceral way, okay? And obviously this is very jarring, and we're going to get into that in a second. But it was a different type of reaction. It was a trauma response that I had, and I kept wondering all day, like, where is this coming from? Where is this coming from? And then I remember I was at the Kyle Rittenhouse shooting as a protester. This was during a time when I was doing too much protesting, protest hopping. So I want to speak to your video from two standpoints, okay? The most important standpoint, this would not be allowed whatsoever if you did not have the privileges that you have. And of course we know that, that's basic introduction into systemic oppression, right? Which also apparently you're trying to teach about systemic oppression in other videos, but that's a whole nother topic. The fact that you could commit a crime so severe and only get 17 years within the current system that we have. And when I say within the current system that we have, I am always going to be an abolitionist at heart, but we are a long way away from that, okay? But when you see Black and brown people getting the most severe sentences for the most minor crimes, and then someone getting 17 years for attacking a school, lets me know that systemic oppression is well alive. It also lets me know that we have become so desensitized to gun violence. This man has a huge platform. I don't just blame his followers, obviously. I blame our media in America, which freely displays guns. You can't watch one action movie without there being guns everywhere and this heroic music in the background. And what do you think that tells the public? What do you think that's normalizing? It's normalizing this. Let's not forget about those creepy edits that people make glorifying other school attackers, quote unquote, and the endless upon endless jokes that we make about just waking up and being like, well, I hope a school doesn't get attacked today. Like, yo, that's not normal. And if you travel, which this country makes it very difficult for people to even afford to travel, other countries don't have this mentality. Just to wrap this up, as someone who has been in the crowd when there was an attacker, I promise you can't even begin to fathom how they must feel seeing your face on a very popular social media site, talking about how you're doing good, that you're working with law enforcement. But this is America, isn't it? Yeah.
Those who don't know, I am a school shooter. I did 17 years in prison, and I
What in the white male privilege is happening? They let you out.
So this is all I got from the stitches. I think I already brought this kind of video to you. I mean, let me refresh in your memory. He is the one that actually came out to say that you know, black people can be racist to white people. And why he said that was because like he was a school shooter, right? And then he is working with law enforcement to help them, like, you know, talk to people that want to, like, I just don't understand this kind of arrangement and this kind of thing. I mean, somebody that once, I mean, did something really very horrible. And I am not saying people cannot change and all that, but it is white privilege that somebody like who is not even supposed to be out of prison actually came out and he's going around doing his pep talk and all that to people and how not to shoot up school and all that, you know. And he made a video that was yesterday telling people that why the black man attacked him and why he called him white devil, right? And it was at the time he was trying to tell this story that people were like, what happened? What did you do that made the person, what did you do that made the person, like, you know, cut you up with sword, right? And I think he deleted the video because by the time I came back, I couldn't find the video. So it was at that time that then he made this video saying that he was a school shooter and, like, you know, he shot up school and then he was working with a homeless facility and the man attacked him even without him knowing about his background, but he lied. He was calling the man he was being racist to the man, the black man, who eventually showed him how to be racist by using the sword. But then the man actually has mental, I mean, he's not mentally stable and all that. But I am not, like, you know, trying to cover up for him for doing what he did and the rest, but I am trying to give you the story. So when people saw this, people couldn't, like, there are so many stitches to this video. People couldn't even believe that, like, you know, he is looking for peace because he finally changed his name to was something looking for peace, you know. And a lot of people were thinking that it's very crazy. And why should he even, like, you know, have a platform to speak about like this, like he should, and trying to also monetize it, like, you know, and that he has impacted people's life badly. And he was saying, yes, I have some of my friends come up to me when I was in prison. Some came to look out for me. I mean, that is a whole lot of bunch of bullshit and all that you're telling us. But then he is a pump-colored person. What do you expect to happen? And yeah, he is going around doing, like, you know, talking to people not to do this and not to do that, not to be a mad. And the first person that spoke, does this person look like he's not going to do something like this? I have no idea. I know people change, but this is where I am going to draw the curtain. Thank you so much for the support. See you all in my next video. Bye for now.